Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Humans on the Verge. It's been a while since I've been here, quite a few months since I've dropped a new episode of the podcast. And it was needed. That few months was needed. I've been hermiting a bit, pulling inside, contemplating, pondering, and really just trying to find my true way of being out in the world. What's new, Kelly? You say to me. Yeah, I get it. It's what the whole fucking episode is about. Because this trying to find my way or my true way of being out in the world is because I know that I'm meant to be out in the world as much as I love to hermit and like be inside my mind and learn new shit and kind of what I've been calling lately geek out. But I really needed time to get some clarity about how I want to do that now in these times. As you all know and can feel by the chaos in the world right now, humanity is undergoing, I don't know how else to put it, but some really big shit. We are all in a major transformational time on this planet. And because we are all so connected these days, I mean, like way too connected, like way better, more connected than we really should be. But because of that, we can also see the sweeping instability everywhere and know details about it that we would never know in other times. And because it's not just our political systems and even our technological systems that are rapidly shifting. I mean, hello, last year, 2025, started with unprecedented fires here in Los Angeles. You know, the very atmosphere of our weather is changing in ways that even those who are climate deniers, I'm sure, are getting a little nervous. So we're all, as I like to say, a wee bit tense right now. We are all truly humans on the verge. And as terrifying as all of that is, and it is, my nervous system has been all over the place, as I know yours has too. And yet, I gotta tell you guys, there is a deep part of me that is also watching with hope. That word, hope. It's a tough one, but I can't really use any other word. And the hope is that from this chaos comes new order. Pollyanna, sure, maybe. But when I look at the arc of history of humans and the planet, maybe not so Pollyanna. And it's just how I'm wired, you guys. This is how I'm wired. I'm one who always entertains the big picture. I sit with that in my heart, even as my body mind is roiling with anxiety and fear. These last 25 years in America, I mean, really, like for me, the way I see it since 9/11, has ushered in the beginning of this reworking of this experiment we humans are doing, I believe. I mean, certainly for us Americans. Big turning point. I really believe that. And since then, I kind of noticed as I was writing this today, like, oh yeah, that's kind of when I really started studying systems of thought, ways of looking at the human journey that has helped me ground in bigger picture thinking. And really always, I mean, my whole life, this question has been here, but especially the last 25 years, what is mine to do? What is my part in it? What is my like personal what to do? But also like, how am I part of this unfolding human story? Most of these systems that I studied the last 25 years, I just love how my mind kind of fits all these pieces together all the time. I I explored in the first 3 interviews of this very podcast last year. I spoke with Genpo Roshi, who's a Zen master and creator of something called the Big Mind Technique that I discovered, I think it was like 2005, 2006. I interviewed Stephen Eisenstadt, who's a post-Jungian psychologist, founder of Pacifica Graduate Institute, and creator of the Dream Tending Technique, which I've known Stephen since 2001 when I started at Pacifica. But 7 years, I started working with him in a small cohort to learn his techniques and to apply them to my life. And then I also interviewed Stephen McIntosh, this developmental philosopher who uses integral theory, that's Ken Wilber's big integral theory, as a way to study the evolution of consciousness and culture and politics in particular. And so it's just interesting that all of them have helped me, and all of those systems have helped me to connect to either the collective story or the transpersonal part of the psyche, or the individual or the personal part of the psyche, or all of those things in some combination, because all of those things are actually all one thing. Our rational delineating mind just happens to separate them into parts because it's easier to talk about. These last few months, though, I've been delving into some new stuff, some new systems. Well, they're not new, but I'm new to them. One of them is called human design, and there's also something kind of an outcropping of human design called gene keys. And they've also helped me get some clarity on this long arc of humanity, that story, but also how I, little old me, can answer the question of what is mine to do in these times. And as life does, I didn't find anything brand new by studying these new things. No big revelations, just more courage to refine, to boldly step into what is mine to do, which is what I've been doing all along, mostly. I just kind of new words and new language and new mindsets and new ways of thinking about it. Kind of what I notice I've been doing all along is I kind of go into like a hermit cave and do a ton of studying, do some work on my inner self, apply the things I'm studying to myself, looking deeply into how I tick, what I see, what I'm wrestling with, studying other systems that teach me new ways of seeing, how all humans tick. So I go from me to us, to the we, to you, and then finding new levels of courage to express myself, my thoughts, my feelings, my stories, my insights, and hoping that by sharing my human journey with you, my fellow seekers, I hope that you're inspired, lifted, opened up to something new in your life, whether that's internally an aha or a little more courage to do what is yours to do. And so I just wanted to let you know, for the next stretch of time on this podcast, until I feel a need to shift something, deep in my gut, like, time to shift again, time to shift gears, I'll be doing less interviews with others and more of these Ponderama episodes. They'll be shorter, probably. We'll see today how short this one is, and hopefully more frequent. I'm trying to get into a flow here. I'm trying to get less time between pondering and expressing because the last arc of pondering versus expressing has been like 7 years, although I started the podcast and things like that. But really, I was in full expression 7 or 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and just kind of pulled back and did something else. So hoping to shorten that a lot. So these episodes will be more shorter and more frequent, and guided by what's stirring inside of me and sharing that. And I'm really hoping to just share a lot of my past and my present journey about figuring out, of course, how to be a fucking human in the first half of the 21st century. Because we are officially done, you guys, with the first quarter of the 21st century. Just wanted to lay that fucking on you today, too. I realized that when I was writing this, like, oh, first quarter, check, boom. What the fuck? Okay. And so, welcome. Welcome back, everyone. Let's begin today's Ponderama. I've been slowing down lately. I'm officially done with hustle culture. And maybe it's my age. I am 62. And maybe it's just my soul. After 17 years of social media, after 10 years of the Trump era, even with Biden as president, we were still in the Trump era. And after 7 years of playing the entrepreneurial game, I'm done. Fuck it. Fuck you, hustle. I'm done. I mentioned that I'm studying something called human design and the gene keys lately. Yeah, and I'm going to fully admit, some weird esoteric stuff, okay? And yet, I have to say, it's been very, very resonant for me. The biggest piece of information I've gotten from my studies the last few months is that my particular design, my particular chart, la-di-da-di-da, profile, is that really my job in like a most basic way is to just let what light me up, and then share it with others. When I look back on my life, I see that I've always been afraid to do that. That's been like the main, like if you were going to like, what's the theme of Kelly Carlin's life from day one? Afraid to fully express herself. But also when I look more closely, I've also seen that I have always avoided putting myself in situations that did not light me up. So I was operating correctly. I knew that I needed to avoid places that made me feel like a cog in a machine. Can I get a hell yes out of all of my creatives, right? That's what we're here to do. We're here to stay away from the cog, and we're here to allow what lights us up, and express it. So yesterday morning, when I woke up in my head and full of fear about how the fuck am I going to survive in this world by following what lights me up? As one does these days. And so I just took a breath and asked, okay, so what lights me up right now? I was sitting in my living room and the twilight was just emerging here on the West Coast. And I looked outside the window at my very cute, but I have to say very ordinary, nothing fancy at all, little Los Angeles neighborhood, and just took in the tableau. I let my gaze open and I felt something shift. It was almost painterly, the view. The colors, the shapes, the white picket fence across the street, the car parked. It was a moment in time. A place of pause before the day. It was peace. My whole self shifted into pure being. Thoughts dropped away. I am a great planner of doing, but not a very active doer. Don't get me wrong, I love to be productive. I get great satisfaction in moving pieces toward a something, especially if it's going to be a tangible something, like something I can hold and see. Truly, I will never forget when I held my memoir in my hands for the first time, this object, all of the energy and time and life that went into this object. Or when I saw the set that had been built for my solo show, when I did my run at the what used to be called the Falcon Theater, it's now the Gary Marshall Theater, that sense of like, it's a tangible thing in the real world. I love that. But also, I have to tell you and admit, which you probably know already, I live in the intangible most of the time. I'm inside my inner life. I'm connecting to feelings and thoughts and ideas and somatic experiencing in the form of subtle hints of energy, intuitions, I guess you'd probably call it. I'm very sensitive to the ways of being. And so that can feel like a lot of doing because a lot is going on because of all those invisible things are quite tangible to me. They are actually, in some ways, most tangible to me. As I mentioned before, studying the thing called gene keys right now. And it's an esoteric take, very esoteric take on how we're wired for a particular path. I mean, the word gene is in it, as in genetic, right? Genetic code. And just as a quick aside here, because this is where my brain goes, I get that esoteric paths are not everyone's cup of tea. And you may be listening to this and be like, ugh, I'm just going to tune out now. She's talking about some kind of crazy shit. But I just want to say this to all of you. I, too, have a very strong, rational mind. I adore it. And I also get a bit cringy about some levels of woo, I have to tell you. And yet, because I'm also deeply shaped by my inner life and it is so tangible to me, I know the gift is always, the intangible's always informing a truer picture of reality for me. And so I've studied it a lot. I think that's why I've studied it a lot, because I have these two sides that are just the rational, tangible, and this intangible thing that's even more real to me in some ways. I mean, as you know, I got my master's in Jungian psychology, for fuck's sake. And Jung's really, in a strange way, was a very rational approach to the imaginal, to these interior human realms. He was a scientist. He was studying with Freud. He was a colleague of Freud. And yet these imaginal realms came to him and he could not fucking ignore them. And thank God, because they've been with humanity forever. So I just want to offer to you super rational folks and skeptics out there, if you're curious about the cutting edge thinking around the intangible, imaginal realms, behind how the human mind is actually hardwired to create reality from both physical and this imaginal interior, I really invite you, and I've talked about him before on this, to go check out John Vervaeke, Vervaeke. He's a very serious, rational guy. He's the head of the cognitive science department at a big university in Toronto. And he studies these very real interior states and the philosophic and esoteric paths that have emerged through humanity's time to understand and strengthen our relationship with this imaginal realm, which in the end is, as he says, where meaning comes from. So go check out his YouTube channel. There's a great series, I have mentioned this before, called Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. Blew my mind at the beginning of 2025. I did a deep, deep dive into it and talked a little bit about it here. And I've been trying to get him to come on to this podcast, but he is a very, very, very busy man right now, because it feels like humanity is having this conversation right now, where we see that this modern rational model of experiencing life and creating reality is really only half the picture. And we kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater about 450 years ago. So anyway, he's a very busy man. All right. So just wanted to do that little turn off there just to say my piece. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I'm studying this thing called gene keys, this esoteric take on how we're wired for a particular path in life. And I've been sitting with and contemplating an aspect of my kind of profile that is super uncomfortable, but it's the first one we're studying. I'm part of a whole year-long kind of study group. And it's so uncomfortable because it's It's so fucking spot on about who I am, and it's about the human quality of vanity. Oh, God, you guys, I just wanna go take a shower. This quality, I have to say, though, has become really more and more conscious to me these last few years, especially the impact it's had on my ability to do the very work I feel that I've been put on this planet to do, which is to be a creative, right? To express my interior world into something tangible. So, what do I mean by vanity in this context? It's that desire in me to look good, not reveal the cracks or ignorance, shadow, or my blind spots, in hopes of being respected, not rejected, not thrown out of the tribe, right? We all have that fear. In the end, it is the hope of being loved and maybe even adored. Ugh. And yet human. Very human. So according to the Gene Keys, vanity is the shadow side of my life's work. So like this system doesn't say like, oh, your life's work is to be a blah, 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 blah. It does a little bit of that. But it's really like, no, Kelly, this is kind of what you're put on here to do, is to wrestle with this shadow, to move into the gift part of it, and hopefully move into the highest manifestation of it. We'll get more to that in a minute. So like literally my life's work, what I'm here to do in this human life. And when I say shadow, for those of you who aren't familiar, as you may already know, the definition of the shadow psychologically is it's the aspect of self that the ego does not like. It's run by vanity. The ego's vanity. Shadow is anything that the ego's like, oh no, we can't share that. We need to put that somewhere else and hide it for a while. But it's out of fear that the ego does that because it's out of survival. It's very early, training in our lives. And you can feel and hear a lot of fear in vanity. It's all about presenting well and hiding the ugly. This insight into where I go when I live from fear, only seeing the universe as a maligning force out to get me, makes me laugh because it's such a great foil for the biggest, most urgent demand that I am actually motivated by and look for in the world, which is the quality of authenticity. Oh, how God laughs. But if you understand how the human psyche works, it's that it lives in the tension of these opposites, right? It presents us with both poles to live into and to learn to hold. If vanity with this desire to be loved is the kind of the shadowy, it's kind of it's the strategy to hide the ugly, then the full like opposite of that would be unconditional love, or love itself, like love with loving with warts and all, right? With all the dark urges, like the real love, like God's love, like, that kind of love. Agape, right? Isn't it agape, I think? I'm not a Christian. It's not just being loved, but it is actually inhabiting that transcendent state of love that is capable of that. For me, it's like I'm always testing life through either showing up how I think I'm supposed to be, letting vanity drive my life, or I'm risking sharing my guts, my soul, what I can feel is a bit raw and real to see if life will love me anyway. Not reject me. I mean, I think it's why I love to write about my trials and tribulations through personal storytelling, not just for myself, but, to create a tribe of humanity that feels free to be their full human selves out loud with me. Like, jump in, the water is fine. Now, I have to say, and I kind of agree, most people hate the word authentic or authenticity because it's just so fucking nebulous. What the fuck does that mean? And of course it is. This is my take on it. Of course it's nebulous. It is vague because it can only be defined subjectively. by ourselves from a very deep interior somatic-based place where when we see it or feel it, we hum it inside like a resonant tone or frequency. It's a personal calibration. It's very, very subjective. It's like, what did the congressional or the justices, I think it was the Supreme Court justices said, like about pornography? I'll know it when I see it. Same thing with authenticity. So the Gene Keys avoid that word. They don't use authenticity. But they talk about the path to that resonance and that love as a path of discrimination. And this isn't just cultural discrimination where we like use it to place people into hierarchies of worth. Like that's where my mind first went when I read the word like, ew, discrimination, the path of discrimination. Ew, I hate you. No, it's a broader use of the word, and it's a very subtle use of the word. But it's a real use of the word. It's the assessing the differences between things, discriminating between things in order to prioritize them according to our personal value system, right? So there's the cultural discrimination. We're using cultural norms to discriminate, but this is about an interior subjective value system to discriminate. And it has to do with discerning what makes one feel good. That's what you're using this discriminating lens to find. What makes one feel good? What lights you up? What lights me up? And to love that thing, like to let yourself love it, to let yourself be in relationship with what lights you up. So much of our culture and our training as humans is avoiding what lights us up because it won't fit into capitalistic patriarchal construction of reality. And I don't mean to demean those words. They just are, they are the nature of human life on Earth in the 20th century so much. 19th century too, but really so much in the modern world, right? So it's about letting yourself find what makes you feel good, what lights you up, loving that thing, and then sharing that love, sharing that joy, sharing it with the world, whether it's the thing you're doing itself or whatever it is, or just you lit up. You being a lit up being by life, like sharing that in the world too. That's enough. Imagine that. Imagine that being enough in this fucking Instagram fucking society. So kind of like my marching orders is, follow what lights you up and share it. It's not, and I have to say, it's not a blind, unconscious love. Because, what lights me up is different in each era of my life. I was thinking back on it, it's like, yeah, there was a time in my 20s when what lit me up was an 8-ball of cocaine and staying up all night discussing how to solve the problems of the world with anyone who would snort some cocaine with me. So this isn't about what lights up my amygdala or your amygdala, right? Not the lizard brain, but what lights up our souls. What lights up that transcendent part of ourselves. And not just transcendent, divine, God, leave my body, but like the root of who we are, that soul place. What lights up our souls? And to really pay attention to what organically makes me or you, Jeffrey, Pam, Allison, I'm talking to all of you out there, what lights you up? And to let that be the fuel of our lives. Radical thinking. And when I let myself feel into and bring awareness to these two versions of me, these two human versions of me, where I could either be run by my vanity or run by this discriminating, looking for what lights me up, I can see so clearly how I kind of smash back and forth between these two states as a creative. On the vanity pole, I am paralyzed in my perfectionism, not expressing, not doing. In the discrimination mode, I'm allowing myself to let my love, my resonance of something, the pull of joy and fulfillment, just be the fuel, and then let whatever wants to sing through me sing. When I woke up yesterday morning, I was clearly locked in my vanity, my overthinking paralysis. But as I began to write this very journal entry that I'm basically reading to you with light edits, um, I I reconnected to my joy, geeking out on that thing that makes humans tick, what makes me tick. And well, here I am now in the flow. And I love how this topic of vanity came up today, of course, right on time. Thank you to the part of psyche that is bigger than my ego and knows exactly whatever the fuck I'm really needing to do. Because I've been called this year, called deeply, deeply in my humanity as I started this journal entry with you, to live into the question, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? And of course, that scares me a lot because what is mine to do right now, and what I'm so clear about, is to share what brings meaning to my life and the world and stitches together the physical and the imaginal realms of humanity, my own humanity first. And not just by talking to smart people who study this, not just smart men who study this. I realize my rational self has always relied on men to shape my understanding of the world. Yes, I'm talking about my dad. And yes, I'm talking about my cultural conditioning. And yes, I'm even talking about my own personal soul path of healing my relationship with the inner masculine and the inner feminine part of me. But instead of relying on authority figures, I want to lean into and steep myself in the love of what lights me up. And not from my isolated ego headspace, my thinking mind, but to bring in the wider view informed by the nonlinear, the irrational ways of living in and with the world through the deep imagination and the imaginal. This year in 2026, as my personal, spiritual, and life path, my healing path, we're all healing. We're all walking each other home, including ourselves. What is mine to do is to live into and practice and remember to be deeply informed by the realms of the human psyche that the modern, rational, materialistic perspectives have judged and demonized, diminished. The human imagination, the collective and personal unconscious, and the felt experience of communion with the transcendent and with each other, with our fellow human beings, and with nature, which are our fellow companions, and the very earth itself, the very miracle of life. I mean, it is a fucking miracle. And I don't mean that in a religious way. I mean, it's astounding that we're here and we're awake. Just astounding that we are on Earth doing this thing. I'm not just doing this in my personal life, but I'm also now doing it in my work in the world to teach and guide others to access and work within this way of seeing and being with life, their life and life with a capital L, to support their creative work, their creative life, to support spiritual awakening, and of course, to support the work that is theirs to do right now. For the last 7 years, I've been deeply immersed in my own exploration, as you know, as I've touched on in my conversation with Stephen Eisenstadt through the portal of dream work. I have to tell you, this work has been slow because I do have a natural resistance to it. and find myself so enamored with the kind of material, rational world. But when I allow myself to do this work, it has been one of the most profound, deeply healing um, areas and phases of my life. And I will talk more about that this year. It has given me the gift of not only an intellectual understanding of my life, kind of a framework, but really the gift of getting to have a deep felt experience of belonging to the whole cosmos, to really find my part in it here, the belonging. My vanity self, of course, feels terrified by me taking this fuller step into who I've always been. A witch, certainly a mystic. I look at my bookshelf, it's like, it's ridiculous. A student of the esoteric, certainly. But at 62, I can't pretend that I'm anything else. Life's too short, and I don't know fucking how long I have or how long any of us have. And so my outward work has been as a creative these last 15, 16, however many, 17 years. But then about 7 years ago, I pulled away from that, and my outward work became more in the realm of life coaching. And something about a year and a half ago woke up in me, and I just knew I couldn't just walk that path anymore. I can't pretend I'm a life coach. I'm lying to the world by saying that, basically. I loved life coaching, and I love life coaching. And I just want to say, I fucking hate that term. That's part of it, is I fucking hate that term. I'd rather be called a witchy hag than a life coach at this point. But the reason I love that work is because beyond therapy or even spiritual path work, it is work that is ultimately about helping people find what lights them up and helping them live into that path. And so that's why I did the work. That's why I created Women on the Verge. That's why I changed it to Humans on the Verge. It's why I love that path. And I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Humans on the Verge is still very much a path where, whether you're a creative or just a person going through a bit of a life wake-up call, it's about finding that thing that really lights you up. Finding your quote-unquote more authentic self to walk into the world. And it's a solid path, especially if you're working with people who are trained and have done the work themselves. I mean, there's a lot of fucking yahoos out there too, as you know. And I have no qualm about the people who say, life coaching's bullshit. I get that. But in every realm, there's people who are doing good work, and then there are people who are just full of shit and crazy, and you should stay away from. So I'm not really changing a lot of my life, but I am. It feels like a big change for me, because what it is although we have ways inside of Humans on the Verge to do that kind of what lights you up kind of work, really the work that I'm called to do right now is this work where I get to take people into the elevator of their psyche and go down a few floors and teach them how to access the wisdom and guidance and information from the deep imagination, from the collective and personal unconscious. And like I said, I've been studying that through dream work. Lots of modalities, lots of ways to do that. And part of the reason that I am doing this is because the pilgrimage I went on in 2024 to Carl Jung's lake house, to the tower, and had a profound awakening of his commitment to this part of this human psyche in a time when it was poo-pooed upon, More on that later. So some of you may be thinking, rolling your eyes, oh, Kelly, what's with all this fucking hand-wringing? This is how we've always seen you. You are a bit of a freak, always inviting us to an edge place to see the world differently. And if that is so, thank you for seeing me. I really appreciate that. But this is part of my vanity. This is part of my life's work is for some reason, it feels like such an edge for me. It feels like such a scary place. And rightly so, because I've had some pushback in my life around this, and I'll talk about that at another time too. It's part of what I'm writing about. So my work with my vanity and my work to leap into walking the path where I use the power of discrimination to experience what lights me up so that I can live into it, ponder it, and then come on here inside the Ponderama and share it with you. That's my work. That's what is mine to do. So thank you. Thank you for being here, listening to the Ponderama or watching it here on YouTube, wherever you get this message. I appreciate it. I hope my own pondering, my wrestling as usual, lit something up in you. An insight, an aha, a holy shit, a holy fuck. I mean, there's really nothing better than a holy fuck, right? So I hope you can come on the ride with me this year. And I invite you into my world here. And I invite you into my broader world of the work I do, the work I'm doing, the work we do at Humans on the Verge. And if you too are feeling that you're kind of done with your own maybe hand-wringing and want to come explore a little bit about what is yours to do this year in 2026, yes, even with the chaos and systems devolving, and yet still wanting to live a life where you want to create things and you have people to love and sunsets to enjoy. We're holding a little event on January 31st called, What is Yours to Do? And we're going to be delving into a little bit into taking the elevator down. So accessing a little bit from the personal and the collective unconscious, and also connecting to what feels resonant and grounding in your life right now. Maybe getting a little courage to make a shift, or whether it's a subtle or a big shift, a leap or a leap or a shift. And so you can go to humansontheverge.com. There's a little thing to register for the event there. It's super low cost. We're actually lowering our cost on all of our things that we're doing over there this year. You know, we feel it. We know there's less ability to feel like we can spend on our own lives and our own human development. Things are so uncertain. But we do need to make a living also, so we do have to charge something. I wish I was a billionaire. I'd give it all away. I'm not even close to that, or a millionaire. TMI, I'm sure. Apologies for that. But we just have a great group of people over there. And so we would love to see you. Come hang out. It's a 4-hour event on January 31st. I think it's like 10 a.m. Pacific to 2 p.m. You can, like I said, you can go to the website, or you can go to any of my link trees on all the socials, or I think there'll be some live links either in the show notes here, whatever your podcast is, place you're listening to, or the YouTube. And you'll be able to come and hang out with us, creatives. We've got writers, seekers, and people who are, I don't know, ready to just step out of their vanity and into their discrimination. How about that? Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year. And hey, we ended up going 45 minutes anyway today. What the hell? All right. Till next time. Have a good one. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba